Thanks so much for this. I feel like just seeing you chatting live automatically improves my mood, much like listening to the podcast, but more. Might not be relevant to LOA, but what's your advice around feeling completely burnt out? So burnt out for so long that I feel like I don't have the energy to do anything about it. Thank you for that great question. And thank you for those kind words. So this is something actually that was recently on my mind yesterday and today, this burnout idea or question, because I'm going to be partaking in an interview with somebody who's running a um, whatchamacallit, not a course, but I don't know, some event involving burnout, that will be coming, that you guys will have, privy to sometime in the next month or two. But yeah, so it's a great and not uncommon question about burnout, where you feel so done and you felt that way for so long that there's almost a level of seeming ambivalence about it. It's like, I'm just just done. um, the issue with that, first of all, I have nothing profound to say about it, in the sense that what I'm about to say you already know. And when we feel like we are really just totally burnt out, totally spent, what we have to recognize, or not have to, but what's good to recognize, is that that's a concept in your head. The body doesn't care. I mean, the body might be burnt out in the sense that, like, your adrenals and your energy might be, shitty. You might not feel good physically, but it's not your body that is telling you you're burnt out. More so that it's your mind that is giving you this problem. It's telling you that I'm burnt out. There's something wrong with me. I'm unable to fix this. This is not working. I am in a situation where I cannot get out of it. I don't know how to get out of it. I'm trying my best. The more I try, the more screwed up it seems to get. I just don't care anymore. But even though I don't care, I keep on thinking about it. It's a loop. It's a loop of shit, you know? And we've all been there, or at least a lot of us have been there. And there's so much good news and different approaches to deal with it. And obviously, when you're in it, it doesn't seem that way. I remember I used to, rent apartments for a living, and in the summer, I would always reach this point where I would be working like 6 days a week, and be working long hours, sometimes working 7 days a week, and like it always got to like early August, and I'm like, I'm just done. Like mentally, I can't take it anymore. And what I always found is that was not true. I always actually could take it. It was my mind that was telling me I couldn't take it. And our mind's a liar. Our conscious thoughts are lying to us when it comes to that stuff. It's setting up this false narrative. Now, why I say that none of the stuff my answer to you to this question is not profound is because you've heard all this before. The only relevant thing that I might be conveying here is like what you said, is you're just hearing me, over Zoom live telling you this, right? So you might sense my energy more, right? It's in your head. And so the solutions to burnout there's a multitude of solutions there in it. There's a lot of good stress books that you could read, that give you good solutions, like classics are like How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie, or any of Claire Weeks's books. I talk about Claire Weeks in The Law of Attraction Simplified. I'm trying to think of, just look at Claire Weeks, look at on Amazon or something. You'll Hope and Help for Your Nerves, I think it's her most famous book. So that's very practical advice for dealing with burnout. But if you want to get more far out and more law of attraction-y about it, um, it's taking responsibility for your thoughts and then doing something about that every day. Not necessarily in like a self-judgmental, like I got to get my act together way, but more in the way that like we just did, finding a way to decompress and go to your quiet room. And perhaps not just go to your quiet room in the morning for a few minutes, but go back into your quiet room throughout the day. Or maybe go to your quiet room, not just for 10 minutes in the morning, but for 1 hour. Or to utilize a success indicator in the way that W. Clement Stone did, in which I posted that video on YouTube a couple months ago talking about the success indicator. If you become more aware of these self-sabotaging, destructive, essentially totally bullshit thoughts saying that you're burnt out, and continue to not accept them, and put your focus on what you do want, then what you do want becomes shockingly more easy to feel and attain than you would expect. So if you physically feel burnt out, by no means am I telling you to like just bulldoze straight ahead. I think oftentimes a good solution to burnout is to get away, take a vacation, totally decompress, literally decompress, not just mentally, but go someplace different to get a different perspective. But it is definitely something that is can be dealt with in many different ways and should be dealt with. Where I'm seeing your follow-up response, the energy is hard to find. Well, that, if the energy is hard to find, again, this, I do not mean this in any type of critical way, because I think we've all been there. If the energy is hard to find, you have to recognize how mental that is, in the sense where, for instance, if you read Coué, he talks about how we should never be tired, but we get tired because we stress ourselves out the whole day. And Dale Carnegie talks about that and how to stop worrying and start living. And so does Claire Weeks. But words on paper are not going to necessarily do it. It's more about taking the responsibility that how I feel right now is burnt out. That's how I'm mentally looking at my life, and I don't want to feel burnt out anymore, and I am going to do my damnness to change it. And that's not using your willpower as much as it is using your imagination, in my opinion, and doing stuff like what we just did at the beginning of this call. So I hope that was helpful. And yeah, if you have a follow-up question, feel free to ask that as well. That's totally fine. Almost all of us get into ruts. It doesn't matter how seemingly successful we are or how much we've accomplished. We get into ruts. One reason that people are so into self-development and self-improvement, self-help, all this law of attraction stuff, is because they're trying to continuously and consistently inspire themselves, particularly when they are in a rut. So a really good way to make it so you don't feel burnt out is to consistently listen or read or watch material that uplifts you, whatever that may be. But if you are watching or listening or reading somebody who is saying that your burnout is not going to finish you, and that you can deal with your burnout, and that it is going to get better, and that these are different ways you can make it better, and that you can implement this stuff, and you're seeing models of other people who are doing the same thing, you're going to realize emotionally and mentally and imaginatively, oh my gosh, I can do this too. So you can model people who are not burnt out and who focus on the opposite, which is feeling good and energetic and, fulfilled, a lot of the time. But understand, even those people go through similar emotional, quote unquote, ruts or downturns usually. And it's just that, you get more and more used to handling that stuff the longer you apply this very positive and pragmatic information. And yeah, I mean, listen, psycho-cybernetics, you can take another look at that book, and I'm sure you'll find something in there that can, profoundly help you deal with this burnout.